The once bustling metropolis now stood as a haunting shell of its former glory. A pall of darkness hung over the city, obscuring the remnants of its grandeur. The streets, once teeming with life, were now desolate, littered with the debris of a world lost to chaos. Sarah, a survivor with haunted eyes, cautiously made her way through the decaying cityscape. Every step was measured, her senses heightened as she moved like a phantom amidst the shadows. The stench of death and decay filled the air, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked around every corner. As Sarah ventured deeper into the heart of the city, her pulse quickened. She had heard whispers, rumors of a terrifying creature roaming the streets, a creature unlike any other. And then she saw it, a grotesque figure, gnarled and twisted, feasting on the remains of its victims. The Zombie Man, as Sarah came to call it, was a macabre sight to behold. Its flesh, rotting and putrid, clung to its skeletal frame. Its once human eyes were now hollow, void of any shred of humanity. Its hunger was insatiable, driving it to tear at the flesh of the unfortunate souls who crossed its path. Fear clutched at Sarah's heart as she hid in the recesses of a dilapidated building, watching the Zombie Man with a mixture of horror and fascination. It was a grotesque dance of death unfolding before her eyes, a grotesque spectacle that both repelled and intrigued her. As she watched, Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. She knew that the city's survival depended on brave souls who dared to stand against the darkness. With a newfound resolve, she vowed to navigate the treacherous streets, to uncover the truth behind the Zombie Man, and to fight for the dwindling embers of hope in a city consumed by shadows. The chaos of the city echoed through the silent night as news of the Zombie Man's rampage reached the ears of the police. Sirens wailed, piercing the air with their urgent cries as squad cars screeched to a halt near the scene of the grisly attack. The arrival of the enforcers brought a glimmer of hope to the beleaguered survivors, a glimmer that flickered in the midst of darkness. Armed with weapons and a sense of duty, the police officers cautiously advanced towards the grotesque figure that had terrorized the streets. Fear mingled with determination in their eyes as they faced this unholy aberration. The air crackled with tension as the officers engaged in a fierce battle against the relentless Zombie Man, their bullets tearing through the night, seemingly ineffective against its unholy resilience. The clash of metal against bone, the desperate shouts of officers, and the guttural roars of the Zombie Man reverberated through the night. It was a gruesome dance of survival, where life and death teetered on a fragile precipice. Sarah, hidden in the shadows, watched with bated breath, her heart pounding in sync with the relentless rhythm of the battle. Despite their valiant efforts, the officers struggled to subdue the Zombie Man. Its gnarled limbs thrashed with an otherworldly strength, its decaying flesh refusing to yield to the onslaught of bullets. Yet, even in the face of despair, the officers fought on, their determination unyielding. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the combined force of the officers managed to overwhelm the Zombie Man, subduing its monstrous form. The victorious cheers of the enforcers momentarily drowned out the haunting moans that lingered in the night air. Sarah watched from her hiding place, a mixture of relief and trepidation flooding her soul. The Zombie Man, now restrained and shackled, was a grim testament to the horrors that haunted the city. As the police officers prepared to transport their captive to the nearby police station, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the true nightmare had only just begun. Inside the confines of the police station, a sense of false security permeated the air. The officers, unaware of the insidious threat lurking within their ranks, reveled in their victory over the Zombie Man. Laughter and camaraderie filled the once solemn halls as they celebrated their triumph, oblivious to the impending nightmare that loomed. Unbeknownst to them, however, the virus had taken root within their bodies, coiling like a venomous serpent ready to strike. One by one, the infected officers began to exhibit telltale signs of their impending transformation. Their once bright eyes turned bloodshot, their movements became erratic, and an insatiable hunger flickered in their gaze. Chaos erupted within the station's walls as the infected officers succumbed to the virus, their bodies contorting and convulsing in grotesque metamorphosis. Terrified screams filled the air as those who had once stood together now turned against each other, locked in a frenzied battle for survival. Sarah and the small group of survivors found themselves trapped amidst the hellish nightmare. Panic clawed at their hearts as they fought to escape the onslaught of the infected officers turned into mindless, ravenous creatures. The once familiar corridors became a twisted labyrinth of danger, each door a potential trap, and every shadow concealing a lurking threat. The survivors witnessed the grim reality of their situation, forced to confront the horrifying truth that these creatures were not mindless zombies, but their former comrades. The infected officers displayed a twisted intelligence, moving with purpose and a hunger that surpassed the instinctual drive to feed. With each passing moment, the situation grew more dire. The survivors fought tooth and nail, utilizing whatever makeshift weapons they could find to fend off the infected officers. Fear gnawed at their resolve, but they clung to a sliver of hope, a desperate determination to escape the clutches of the once protective guardians of the law. As Sarah slashed her way through the hordes of infected officers, her mind reeled with questions. How had this happened? What had unleashed this nightmare upon them? She knew that answers lay hidden within the chaos of the police station, and she vowed to unearth the truth before it consumed them all. The police station had become a nightmarish maze of death and despair. The survivors, their bodies battered and their spirits tested, fought desperately to find a way out of the clutches of the infected officers. Every corridor seemed to lead to another chamber of horror, each door a portal to a realm of unimaginable terror. Sarah, her breath ragged and her muscles aching, led the small group through the chaos. Their eyes darted from one shadow to the next, searching for any sign of escape. Their hearts pounded in rhythm with the relentless pursuit of the infected officers, their blood-curdling moans echoing through the dimly lit corridors. Amidst the mayhem, Sarah's resourcefulness shone through. She guided the group, drawing upon her survival instincts and a keen sense of observation. With every obstacle they encountered, she found a solution, a ventilation shaft to crawl through, a hidden door obscured by debris. She refused to let despair consume her, pushing forward with unwavering determination. The survivors wielded their makeshift weapons with fierce resolve, each strike infused with a desperate desire to survive. The infected officers, driven solely by their insatiable hunger, displayed a grotesque intelligence, testing the limits of the survivors' endurance. The fight became a deadly dance of skill and strategy, where every misstep could mean certain death. As they fought their way through the labyrinthine corridors, Sarah's mind raced, searching for a plan, a glimmer of hope. She knew that escape was their only chance at survival. Their path was fraught with danger, but she refused to succumb to fear. The adrenaline surged through her veins, lending her strength even in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, a breakthrough. A door creaked open to reveal a stairwell leading to the outside world. The survivors poured their last ounces of energy into climbing those steps, their weary bodies driven by the prospect of freedom. Sunlight pierced through the cracks, offering a tantalizing glimpse of a world untouched by the horrors they had endured. Gasping for breath, covered in sweat and grime, they emerged into the open air. The city skyline, marred by destruction, stretched out before them. They had escaped the clutches of the infected officers, but they knew the battle was far from over. The city was still infested with the undead, and they had to find a way to survive. The survivors, battered but unbroken, stood on the outskirts of the police station, gazing out at the nightmarish panorama that stretched before them. The city had transformed into a hunting ground for the undead, where once vibrant streets now teemed with ravenous creatures. The air was thick with the stench of death, and the distant moans of the zombies echoed through the desolation. Sarah and her fellow survivors knew they had to stay vigilant, to remain one step ahead of the relentless horde. They formed a tight-knit group, united by a common goal: to find a sanctuary amidst the chaos. With each passing moment, their determination grew, their will to survive burning brighter than ever before. Their journey through the city was fraught with danger at every turn. They navigated crumbling buildings, their footsteps muffled by the debris that littered the streets. The once familiar landmarks were now distorted, their grandeur reduced to haunting reminders of a world that had been lost. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the city, they encountered pockets of resistance. Other survivors, like flickering flames in the darkness, banded together, sharing information and resources. They exchanged stories of loss and survival, their voices a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Yet, amidst the tales of bravery and sacrifice, a shadow loomed: the source of the zombie virus. Sarah's determination grew stronger as she delved into the remnants of the city's archives, searching for any clue that could lead them to the origin of the outbreak. The answers they sought were buried within the city's haunted past, and they would not rest until the truth was revealed. In their search for the truth, the survivors encountered unimaginable horrors. They witnessed the remnants of failed experiments, abandoned laboratories that had unleashed the virus upon the city. The true extent of the atrocities committed in the name of scientific progress unfolded before their eyes, fueling their anger and resolve. As they continued their perilous journey, hope flickered like a dying flame. The infected officers, now clad in tattered police uniforms, became a constant reminder of the danger that lurked. The survivors knew they had to outwit the zombies, to evade their relentless pursuit, if they were to stand a chance of finding sanctuary in a city plagued by darkness. The survivors, weary and battle-worn, found themselves standing before the towering gates of an abandoned sanctuary. The journey through the city had taken its toll, but their spirits remained unbroken. They had endured unimaginable horrors, witnessed the depths of human depravity, and fought tooth and nail for their survival. Inside the sanctuary, a flicker of hope ignited. The walls offered shelter from the encroaching darkness and the promise of a respite from the relentless onslaught of the undead. The survivors clung to this newfound sanctuary, their hearts yearning for a semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. They'd fortified their position, reinforcing the gates and pooling their resources. The survivors formed a united front, drawing strength from one another as they prepared for the final stand. Sarah emerged as their leader, her unwavering resolve inspiring the others to fight on, to protect what little remained of their shattered world. As the horde of zombies descended upon the sanctuary, the survivors unleashed their pent-up fury. Their weapons swung with deadly precision, their determination unyielding. The clash of steel and flesh echoed through the air as they fought with the desperation of those who had nothing left to lose. The battle raged on, the sanctuary becoming a battleground of life and death. The survivors fought valiantly, their spirits aflame with the memory of loved ones lost, with the burning desire to reclaim their city from the clutches of the undead. But the horde seemed never-ending, an unrelenting tide that threatened to engulf them all. Fatigue set in, Wounds multiplied, and hope wavered. Yet, in their darkest hour, a glimmer of salvation emerged. A group of resistance fighters, armed and determined, arrived to aid the survivors. With renewed vigor, the combined forces pushed back the horde, inch by inch, until the once secure sanctuary became a graveyard of fallen zombies. The survivors stood amidst the carnage, their bodies battered, but their spirits unbroken. They had fought the ultimate battle and emerged victorious. In the aftermath of the final stand, the survivors mourned their fallen comrades, their hearts heavy with loss. But amidst the sorrow, a flicker of optimism emerged. The city, once consumed by darkness, now held the promise of rebuilding and renewal. Sarah, now a beacon of hope, vowed to lead the survivors towards a brighter future. They would rebuild their city, cleanse it of the remnants of the virus, and ensure that the horrors they had endured would never be forgotten.